Welcome everyone to Unscripted Coding. Today we're going to talk about DeepSeek R1 again, which is the major reasoning model that came from China for a fraction of the price, really shocking the world. But I want to talk about it in context of its competitors from Google as well as OpenAI. Now, before I go further, I wanted to talk about the massive chatter around DeepSeek R1. Basically, everyone, not just AI enthusiasts, not just programmers, are talking about it because of this. So, what you're seeing here is a chart of stock prices, and when I'm recording this video on January 27th, 2025, NVIDIA dropped the stock price dropped 16.97% in a single day. And this speaks to how significant DeepSeek is. They were able to train a model that is competitive with frontier models for a fraction of the price, reportedly just under $6 million. It's offering it for 1/30th of the price if you look at the API costs, and you are also looking at a model that was trained not with NVIDIA's latest cards. And that changes everything about what we think about AI. Well, we need billions or even trillions of dollars of NVIDIA chips. Will we need new electric grids? Will we need new power? Will we need collaboration, new funding, all of these things to make it work when this Chinese company was able to do it with very limited resources, outdated chips, and all of that. And so there is a rethinking. I don't know where to land on all that, but DeepSeek R1 has definitely kind of just entered the public discourse in a way that the model I wanted to focus on today hasn't. Now, I don't know what it is about Google, but they cannot market their success, their models at all. They are not talking about it. They're not making press releases. Nobody knows about them. But Gemini 2.0 Flash has a reasoning model called thinking. It also received a very significant update on January 21st, so just about a week ago. And you can see the performance in a variety of benchmarks has jumped quite a bit from their December model. And so what I think will happen when when we get further into tests is you're going to see that Google can put out something quite competitive here. Maybe not at the same level of DeepSeek, but I have been very impressed with the old version of Gemini Flash thinking, and the new one is a noticeable leap even in just very simple tests. Now, naturally, I cannot do a full scientific test here, but I did have two separate prompts I wanted to use just to see how we feel about this. So let's go back to our contenders here. First of all, I'm going to turn on DeepSeek R1. And this is, of course, a very cheap model, 1/30th of the price of O1 mini, or sorry, O1 regular. I am going to compare this with regular O1 because most people are making that comparison. I'm going to set reasoning effort to medium. If we start to see blurring of the lines, I may want to look at O1 mini. And finally, I'm going to have Gemini 2.0 Flash thinking experimental January 21st. Now, the Gemini model has not been priced yet. You can see that the dollar signs are all zeroed out. It's an experimental model, so Google is offering it free for now. And of course, that's not the final price. But I suspect it will be not at DeepSeek levels, but it will be significantly cheaper than OpenAI because Google has, across the board, been significantly cheaper than OpenAI. So it's very easy to say DeepSeek costs 1/30th. I think DeepSeek will just be maybe half the price, maybe a third of the Gemini 2.0 Flash model. Okay, so I'm just gonna start these off because, as you know, reasoning models do take, 10, 15, sometimes even 30 seconds to actually get a response. While I run these, I will explain what this first test is. So, this is the biggest text here. I have noticed that DeepSeek has a very different writing style, and it also has a very different thinking style as well. In that it thinks through very verbally, but in very much a natural language. I think that is an interesting point of comparison that we as programmers on this channel, coders, may not necessarily appreciate. So I wanted to give it a bit of a logic question that isn't so much in math, that doesn't require so many bullet points. So my very first test was asking AI to build a card game. I was at a board game night. I was thinking, hey, I could build my own card game. What if we have some of these things? So I gave it a couple simple parameters. That's a card game, a party game for 2 to 6 people, mix of social deduction. So if you think werewolf or mafia or resistance, or coup, and a party card game. Honestly, I'm not even sure what that means. I gave it a base idea that there would be 2 groups, very much like werewolf or mafia, one that's bad, one that's good. The roles are not known to anyone, and one group is going to try and hide a card in different places, and the others must find it over a series of rounds. So, I haven't fleshed out the thought very much, and I asked it to think through the rules and make this idea completely concrete. I want details like how many cards, how rounds work, etc. So, at this point, we have 3 different options here. First of all, DeepSeek has the ability for you to actually look as thoughts. And so taking a very colloquial, very casual way of thinking it through, it goes, okay, let's start breaking down the user's request. They want a party game, blah, blah, blah. And so it goes on in a very readable process. It almost feels like how I would say things in my own thoughts. And by the end of it, I've noticed that it is much more bulleted. So that's helpful. Players 2 to 6, best with 4 to 6. So it goes straight to the rules. There's 2 guardian cards, 4 adventure cards. So roles. 1 treasure card, 54 cards with abilities, 6 tokens. Interesting. So there are locations. Oh, I see. The tokens are for voting. So this is starting to shape up. There are concrete numbers here. Seems like there are specific actions. We assign roles. That makes sense. You shuffle the treasure card somewhere, and then you place 3 tokens in the center. I don't know why. I'm not going to verbalize the whole thing, but this makes a lot of sense just very quickly, that there would be an action phase, discussion, voting, resolution. And the mechanics is that people can move the treasure around in various places. They can lie. There is sudden death. There are action cards where you can peek at other people's cards, misdirect them, lock down, accuse. So generally speaking, this is where I think logically I was bringing them out. Next one is Google and their thinking experimental. Once again, Google also has their thought process, but you can immediately see a very different style. It's not, hey, here's what I'm thinking. It is, here's a breakdown of my thinking process. Step 1, step 2, step 3, all bullets. There are some questions, what happens in each round. So it is trying to work through as we go. DeepSeek went straight for it almost, but I am very happy to see that Google is already thinking about balancing. How do we scale for different players? Okay. So, just like before, they have given out role cards. There was a unique treasure card. They Google seems to have put out more action cards, so it went beyond the obvious of swap peak. There's moving to locations, queues, number of action cards, so that's helpful. Location pile area. So it envisions there would be a central pile of cards as well. Let's just skip the setup. The gameplay is broken into many more steps. On your turn, play an action card, draw a new action card, optional. Round ends, and then there's a discussion phase and then a voting phase. It's followed by resolution and round end, and then it cycles back. So, Google has spent more time detailing this out. And in some ways, I think DeepSeek has done more to kind of really outline the obvious, whereas Google has recognized, let's jump right into it. But both of them reached similar conclusions. I think Google went a few steps further. These are both cheaper models. So if you're not familiar with Gemini's name convention, it's using their Flash model, which means it's using their lowest model to do this reasoning. I wonder if OpenAI's mini model is the same thing, the O1 mini model. But let's look at this very quickly. There is an overview, hider seekers, treasures, so similar. There are role cards. OpenAI is the only one that doesn't verbalize its thinking process. Now I'm using the playground. A lot of folks are using chat-gpt. It will just circle and tell you it's thinking rather than verbalizing all the steps. I actually like seeing the thought process. DeepSeek just has it available, and Google has it kind of collapsed. So 3 different processes here. If we come down here, components, they have the different distributions. Action deck, it too has similar kind of obvious choices like DeepSeek. They're all just slightly different. And then reference cards. So unlike Google or DeepSeek, it didn't think of location. Round structure, draw, action, voting. It skipped out the discussion. I feel like this looks a lot more sparse. And this is definitely less fleshed out than Google. So I'm honestly a little bit disappointed by this. So what I'm going to do, out of sheer curiosity here, is I'm going to scale this down to O1 mini and just rerun this again. What am I doing here? Okay, you know what? Let's go with the low-tech solution. So O1 mini, I expect it to run a little faster. I suspect it will do less deep thinking, but curious how close it'll come to the original O1. That's test 1. I have to give it to Google, and I really did not think this would be any different. Like, I came in here thinking Google would win this one. The next one I have is more of a programming questions. So now that we have this, this looks a bit better. This looks more detailed just by going through this. Action phase, movement phase, voting phase, resolution. Actually, no, it still looks a bit sparse in comparison. Okay, enough of that. Let's go back to O1. And we will clear. We will create a new prompt and just start running this next one. And new chat. And start. So now I am going to ask it to do something more traditional to this channel. I have asked it to create a single page web app. So one HTML file with all the JavaScript, all the HTML code. It's really my favorite way to use these things. I asked it to use jQuery, Bootstrap, and script imports. So as long as it stays within that one HTML, I don't care, but I don't want it to rely on servers. I don't want it to, require me to install Node or NPM. So I just wanted a single simple web page. And basically, I'm asking it to do these animations because I have found it very interesting and instructive when I compare how these reasoning models actually go through it. So I'm asking it to do an animation of card flip and draw kind of things. So I said stack 10 cards, placeholder message on the back of each one, and when you animate, I expect when you click it for the top card to flip over so you see the hidden message, and then if you click again it swipes to the side and flips the next one. And then there should be a reset button where it comes back, but it comes back as a shuffled deck. We have 3 different variants. So I find it interesting that DeepSeek was able to do this in so short a code, but let's try it. Flip. That looks really good. That is exactly what I wanted. So let's just get to the end. DeepSeek winning already. Excellent. So follow the instructions, great animations. DeepSeek is doing excellent here. Next one is Google. Slightly different interface. Whoops, sorry about that. I have 2 new tabs here. Just purely because I'm using API in the playgrounds. DeepSeek clearly has a very nice interface, which I appreciate, but it's not the I'm not using the front-facing UI, so I had to download these. This one is Gemini's. So Google, not the greatest design, but not exactly what I was asking for either. So it isn't flipping the card, it is swiping it away. So Google a little bit disappointed with this one. This is O1's demonstration, so hopefully we do a bit different. You do see the flip and then it gets swiped away. That was a pretty slick animation actually to move it back and flip it over. So I'm just gonna tap through all the way and reset and shuffle. So I like that comes back, and so 9, 10, it's being shuffled. So I like this one a lot, and I'm just gonna look back at the DeepSeek one again. Okay, I think DeepSeek and GPT, sorry, not GPT, OpenAI's O1 both look pretty good. Now, I do appreciate that there's a shadow and a border, but these are minor things. They both really look quite similar. So, I'm a fan of. I would rank these equal, with Gemini unfortunately failing at this. I also think Gemini just has it a bit odd. Why is it on the side? Why is the reset deck available from the start and centered, whereas this is not centered? So, once again, this doesn't deviate too far from what I expected. So, coming back to wrapping all of this up, I wanted to show you guys three different reasoning models because I think it's important to think about what they're really good at. Gemini has repeatedly blown my mind because I am not limited to purely programming. And so Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking has done really well when I'm talking about writing documents, when I'm talking about doing things that are a bit more creative or writing related or day-to-day work. But for whatever reason, programming it's just not very good. It just misses the mark in so many little ways. And so I've long found, and these are generalizations, of course, that Gemini and Google hallucinates a bit more, doesn't follow instructions as closely, and that spills out in programming, but it actually works to its advantage in things like creative writing. When it's writing essays, when it doesn't completely follow your directions, it's actually quite nice. Um, and then we look at O1. O1 in general has just been rock solid for programming, and it does really well on the creative side too. And then I feel like DeepSeek is just kind of the reverse of Gemini, and these are just kind of simple tests. I've used it at max a couple days each, but I did run through a few tests and tried to use them side by side, day by day, and I'm thrilled that this worked out really well. DeepSeek in general performs quite closely to O1, maybe a little worse in programming. Um, and so doesn't surprise me that it came with a very similar looking and very equal kind of performance. If anything, I still think DeepSeek just looks really nice here. Um, and then Google is just going to be used for different purposes, at least for now. Where I want to bring this is that there are other models. I think there is a lot to be said that DeepSeek is bringing the price way down, but the reality is OpenAI offers their O1 Mini, which also is a very competent programmer, very competent at various things. So I actually think a fairer comparison is O1 Mini and DeepSeek, as well as Gemini 2.0 Flash, where DeepSeek is still really cheap and really good value. But we gotta be mindful because everyone wants to talk about how DeepSeek is just crushing it. It's a very good model offered at a very good price, but it isn't truly without precedent, at least on the pricing side. Anyways, this video has gone on longer than I expected, but I hope you guys had fun just looking at different things you can do, and I actually think I might try and flesh out that card game. That sounds like an interesting idea worth pursuing. We'll just throw some AI art in there, maybe start printing these cards. All right, thanks for watching, and I will see you next week with another video. Bye.